Okay, hello. Okay, get my candle lit here. I believe today is the 15th. Let me check this. Yep, 15th. Oops. No, I lost my spot. I welcome my spirit guide to come in. I've been feeling very gloomy and not really feeling like doing a reading, but I know that it's important for me to document all of this um, and to push through instead of not doing what I've started. So I see a triangle, but it's like light out here. It's like light around it. And the triangle's dark. I see sometimes I see color, but typically it's black and white. So it's not really like, it's not dark is bad and light is good. It's just an image. I see almost like Jera, the rune. It's kind of like that. I almost see in this triangle now like a light that is down. It could almost be like a mountain range with like a rainbow and a bird. Which reminds me of, I want to say the Hermit. I have in one of my decks, there is a Hermit card that kind of looks like this, where you're looking out on the mountain and assessing where you are, and it can feel like you're very far away, but we've already come through so much of the journey. There's still more to go, but being proud of what's already been done, proud of self. for what's been done. And it's like this peak with the bird on top. Something about the bird. Eagle, soar. I don't know if that's the right spelling of soar, but it's like flying. Like a flying definition of soar. Gliding. Perched at the top. Awaiting. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm thinking cards. I know I just did cards, but thinking cards. Some rumbling thunder. I don't know if you can hear it. Usually when I walk it back, I can't hear it. I don't know what's on here. I think it's from the shells. Okay, the moon. So I know I've been feeling pretty confused. Not really sure where I'm headed. It's interesting that there's this like ball of light in these temples. It looks like multiple buildings to me. Okay. Slow and steady progress. Hierophant is a Taurus card, which my sun sign is a Taurus. And a card of tradition. Going back to old ways. But it's more like, well, we'll see. I think it is, when you're learning something new, you have to start with the old ways before you can really develop it into something new, right? You got to learn what's already known. And then we have the High Priestess, the Chariot, the Sun, the World, the Emperor, and the Hanged Man. So to me, in the outcome, this is, a cycle's complete, but sometimes we don't get we have to wait. The Chariot and the Sun, think of moving around in the heat. You move slower than you'd like. So even though it's coming and it's a steady pace, it's hot. I'm getting overexertion. With the High Priestess here, I'm very much spending a lot of time focusing on my inner world, my inner work, meditating and connecting with my spirit guides. And the Hangman, with the world, it's like a pause. And this Emperor can refer to my Emperor energy needing some healing. I actually had a dream the other day when I was showed my Emperor side, and it was very thin, like this, like it's supposed to be a full rectangle, but it was very thin where you could see all these chunks taken out of it. So I really have to step into my Emperor energy at this time to get some stuff done. But it's also patience. With the Hierophant, it's almost like a master teacher card. Very patient, slow and steady progress, not rushing ahead, because trying to rush is just going to overexert. It's just going to overexert myself in this heat. So there's like a balance of the heat and the cool that I need to look at. And this Hangman too has that balance energy where one side's dark, one side's light, and the middle is a bit of both. So there is integration happening from all of these lessons. And that might be what's confusing here, is having to look at things within the self that maybe are difficult. An Emperor doesn't back away when he sees something scary. He stands strong and firm and takes accountability for his path, for his growth. I do know that I've been thinking a lot about a teacher. I don't have a teacher. A lot of this I've learned on my own. And when the student's ready, the teacher appears. So there is a little bit of waiting. You can't force ahead, and you can try to force ahead and find a teacher, but it might just get you stuck in another karmic loop for a bit, instead of just having some patience, working on what's here that's uncomfortable, and allowing it to develop as it's meant to. Because no matter what, the teacher that you or I or both are contracted to meet, we will meet them, and it will happen. It's just divine timing, patience, and there's a lesson in forging ahead when it's not time. There's a lesson of virtues there. I'm noticing these rainbows in the Hierophant and the Chariot. You know, taking the lead. So the teacher could be very much a leader that teaches us how and when, how to take the lead without rushing in, without really considering what's going on. And what's interesting, the 7, and we have the 5 and the 2 right next to each other. So it's like 7, 7. You know, and I just said when I was, I've been using the word scrying, but I've learned that that's not correct. I've been using my clairvoyance, I just said earlier, is typically black and white. Sometimes there's color, and all of these are very much two-toned, 2 or 3-toned. And these two have the rainbows. I don't know. It's starting to pick up raining. I don't know if I should keep going. Okay, it was right around here where my mic actually died. So there was lots of heavy rain happening, which started right after I was trying to talk about the rainbows. So the rainbows to me have been a message for quite a few years of a sign. Um, I've gone through a lot of deep healing over the years. As I say that, the thunder rumbles again. But I've been waiting for the rainbows for a very long time. So it's very interesting to me that that's right where the cutoff point is, and that of these cards, the Hierophant and the Chariot are the only ones that have rainbows. All the rest of the cards have this, you know, black, white, grayscale, uh, blue, beige color scheme. And so it's interesting that those are the two that stand out the most. Right here, I was writing down because it was raining pretty heavy. I wrote heavy rain and hail, and I was just trying to wait out the storm. Um, so I would like to talk about the sun card right there. If you see how it's a circle that's half light, half dark, that kind of looks like in my dream the other night when I saw my divine masculine, I also saw my divine feminine, and that one was a circle that was light on the full outside. Like if you took that whole circle there and it made it light, and then the middle part was dark. Um, so there's definitely work for me to do during this waiting period of really looking at my masculine and feminine sides and see what I can do to build them out again. Part of a tower is taking away what no longer serves us, which I've definitely had a lot of that going on over the past couple years. So now there's room to rebuild, which can feel a little defeating, if I'm being honest. I feel farther behind than maybe I thought I was. Not that there's really, um, you know, the journey's about where you're at right now. And I can definitely lose sight of that. Here I wrote down there was a pause in the rain, and I started to talk again, but then it started. Heavy rain and hail begins again. Pressure goes up and down, noise close and far. Which to me is how I've been feeling. So I don't know if you would classify this as like, it's definitely an expansion of some kind where a wall is being removed and it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it's very hard to handle, and sometimes it feels like, oh, I just want to get going, but there's not really anything to do, especially like a day like today where it's storming out. And well, where I live, when we get these pretty heavy rains, it can be dangerous to drive. And so it's not that we're always stuck inside when it rains, but if it's hailing and storming like this, I think it's probably best to stay home, stay safe. At this point, I was going over what I had written down, and then I'm about to get right back into the cards here. So I started off with the moon and the sun. I noticed them while I was waiting through the rain. The light at the end of the tunnel, but also it feels a bit like a mirror. You know, we have to wait through the night. We typically sleep through the night so that we can rise with the sun. So, definitely a time to rest and trust. It's very, very important for me right now. Maybe others are feeling that way as well. But I do think that it's interesting. The peaks and the moon and the Hierophant can kind of look like the mountain picture that I wrote down. Um, they very much reflect that. And with one having a rainbow over it, and I did say the other one had a bird. I don't see any birds in the cards, but as for the rainbow, that part definitely comes through with the Hierophant. So it's definitely a mirror image, which could mean there is an opportunity here for me to practice polarity and adjust my perspective. Let's see. It's kind of hard to do this because I don't exactly remember what I was talking about. Okay, so about here, I was talking about the Hierophant and how sometimes we can be contracted to meet people at a certain time, and for whatever reason, they might have stuff going on and we could have stuff going on, and so we're delayed because it's simply not time yet. Maybe they have some cycles to close out, we're closing out some cycles, and we have a choice here of waiting and trusting or going on another karmic loop. You really should not wait for anybody. So I want to make that clear. Waiting in this scenario would be to reflect and heal, not to wait for a certain person, but to have patience for the path to unfold before me, so I can make decisions from a place of clarity instead of the confusion of the moon. So I do want to make that pretty clear. And right here, I started talking about the rainbows in both the Hierophant and the Chariot again, which could indicate, the rainbows are coming to me. There's not, it's an attraction, but also a flowing with. And as soon as I started talking about the rainbows for a second time, it started pouring down rain again. And so I got out my notebook and wrote, as talking about rainbows, the rain starts again. Cleansing is happening. Rain is very cleansing for me personally. Before I can take the next steps, my body needs a little time to catch up with the lessons that my mind and my soul have processed and have worked through, and now my body has to release what it's been holding. So waiting is a choice for the self. Never ever wait for another person. If you find yourself waiting for a person or a specific person, there is a lesson there to look at that I can't necessarily tell you. To me, when I went through it, it was a lesson of detachment and going within why I was so hung up on that situation, why I put my ties over there instead of feeling stable with myself. And that can tie back into the divine masculine and feminine imagery that I talked about before. So I think about here, I was waiting, trying to see if the rain was going to stop or keep going. Um, but I think that that is about what I got from these cards. Definitely some excitement coming in for me in the near future, and just having to trust and wait out the rain until the rainbows come. So, thank you for watching.